Hi and welcome to Frontline City. We're an online church for those who are not sure about God or the Christian faith, but who'd like to find out more. My name is Sharon Edmondson and I'm part of the team here. It's great that you could join us today. For those of you who are new to Frontline City, we're part of Frontline Church, which is based in Liverpool in the UK, and we're here to inspire you about Jesus and how amazing he is. So please feel at home with us. Now, if you're watching this live, you can join in using the comments below the live stream. Say hi and let us know what you think. Ask your questions and debate. Just make sure you do it respectfully. If you're watching the replay of the live stream, you can also write in the comments as we do monitor them. You can also message us on the WhatsApp number shown on the screen, and we especially love it when you send us your photos. Though be warned, if you send your photos, we'll probably show them. Why not send us a photo of where you are now and how you're watching the stream? As well as comment, give us a like, and if you're happy to do so, why not share the live stream out too? It's always great to reach out to new folk around the world. Okay, so let me tell you what's coming up in today's live stream. For the last few months, we've been working our way through the book of Mark, but we're not going to do that today as it's Remembrance Sunday. So we're going to have a Remembrance Day service. Matt will lead us in our service and share some thoughts. As is usual, we'll have catch-up photos and videos towards the end, and we hope to finish around 10 to 5.
Well, good evening, good afternoon. How are you all doing? Welcome to Frontline City, to our church online. I was just responding back to Matt Crew's comment where he said it'd be slightly hilarious if Sharon fell in a puddle at the end of that walk. I'm not sure Sharon would actually find it that funny, but it does remind me of the Vicar of Dibley, you know, that scene where she jumps into the water and just totally disappears. Man, that would have been hysterical. But alas, Matt, that was not set up. But did you see Sharon? Did you see her walking through the woods with a gimbal, recording and remembering what to say? My wife is getting all kinds of teched up today. She recorded that intro this morning, and let's just say our production levels have gone up a lot. Welcome to, Sharon's just put here, I'll try and do that next time. We're going to try and jump in the puddle next time. Let me move those up there. So, where can I put those? Let's put them here, because there's a lot of stuff on the screen. So, well, if you do, make sure you're recording it, babe. That's all I'm going to say. So, welcome, one and all. It's great to see you. Hey, Anton, how you doing? Great to meet you this week. You and your beautiful wife. Welcome to the broadcast. Great that you're here, wherever you're watching it from, and whatever you're doing. We're going to try and do the sort of remembrance service, sort of Frontline City style today. So it is a little bit different, like Sharon said. So do feel at home with us as we get into this, and we're just gonna start right now. So I'm gonna run a video. I'm gonna hit a button on my little desk in front of me here, and I'll be back in just a second.
I'm at Toxteth Cemetery in Liverpool. I've come to visit the War Memorial here, and I've counted about 80 names on it. So that's 80 families who all lost a loved one sometime during the Great War, or as we know it, World War I. That's an awful lot of suffering. But I think over 1 million people died on behalf of the British Empire during that conflict, and of course millions of others from many other countries. And very, very few of the bodies of those soldiers were ever brought back home for families to mourn and to have a funeral for. The war ended on November the 11th, 1918. Famous words went round the world, all quiet on the Western Front. But the end of hostilities didn't mean that the mourning and the grief had ended. And people were still in mourning for the soldiers that had died, for the people that had died. And it was decided that one body would be brought back from the battlefields, and that body would represent all those service personnel who died. They were put on a gun carriage, they were brought to Westminster Abbey, great big church in London, and they were given effectively a state funeral. You know, the great and the good were invited to the funeral, and also 100 men, specific men who had all won the Victoria Cross, which basically means they were incredibly brave. 100 women were also invited to that funeral, and these women had lost not just their husband but all their sons. I find it humbling. I find it inconceivable that people went through that amount of suffering. Now, you might have all sorts of opinions on just war, right war, wrong war, the colour of the poppy that we should wear or not wear, but to me we should just remember. Because we should remember as a sign of respect. So all I'm going to do is leave this at this memorial as a mark of respect for all the men and all the women who have served and not come home. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate you doing that video, but we remember because we should just remember. We remember as it's a sign of respect. That's what Phil said. And I think it's very, very true indeed. I don't know where you are in the world watching this. We've got people from all over the globe tuning in, it seems, which is great. Thanks for saying hi in the comments. Feel free to comment as we go through, to join in as we are doing our remembrance service. Now, you will notice that Phil had in his hand a cross with a poppy on it. And on there it said the words "in remembrance," because today is Remembrance Sunday. But why a poppy? Well, this stems from the Great War that Phil talked about, the First World War, which started in 1914. The British Empire and our allies, France, Russia, Italy and America, fought a war against Germany, Austria, Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. And as Phil said, millions of men joined in the war that went on. Millions lost their lives or were injured. And during the early days of the Second Battle of Ypres, a young Canadian artillery officer called Lieutenant Alexis Helmer was killed on the 2nd of May 1915. The battles were taking place in fields full of poppies, okay? And one particular field was called Flanders Field. Now, he had a friend, a Canadian military doctor, Artillery Commander Major John McCrae, who was serving in the same unit. Now, Major McCrae was asked to conduct the burial service for Lieutenant Helmer because the chaplain had been called away and he was somewhere else on duty. And it's believed later that evening, after the burial, that John began to draft his now very famous poem called "In Flanders Fields." So we're going to play that poem, which is read for us by Sally Birch.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn and sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thanks, Sally. So we wear the poppy to remember. So I have my little poppy pin. Sally had a much more elegant crocheted one by the looks of things that she was wearing. But we wear this to remember. We remember those that died in the Great War, but all the wars since then, including our modern day conflicts. Now, in an address at the Abbey Church, Colonel David Hayes said of our armed forces that we should be humbled by those loyal young people who possess a generosity of spirit, of courage and endurance, and of light-hearted gallantry. Those qualities that are the heart of Christian discipleship, and indeed across all the faiths which our armed forces represent, be they the British forces from the nations of the Commonwealth or our Gurkhas in their Hindu and Buddhist faiths. Today we place our thoughts for those who have known and those we have not known, who have given either their lives or given away the straightness of their limbs in the service of our country. Those who have done so in years past, those who do it now, and those who shall do it in the years ahead. For our servicemen and women of our United Kingdom, alongside all of those of all faiths of our Commonwealth and our nations, and our Gurkhas on this day of remembrance, we thank God. Indeed we do, right? I mean, that's such a great quote. Now, today gathers countless of memories and untold stories of bravery, of sacrifice and of anguish into church buildings, and more likely into digital churches like this one, right, given the era in which we're currently living. And we place them in the context of the great Christian story of Jesus' crucifixion and the hope of the resurrection. As Colonel David Hayes remarked, let me see if I can bring my slide up here, the intent to destroy through maiming and killing will prevail. Ours is a world of nuclear giants and ethical infants. We know more about war than we know about living. We have grasped the mystery of the atom and rejected the Sermon on the Mount. What an extraordinary quote. You see, the Bible never glosses over human suffering and loss that is inevitable, which comes from war, right? It's an inevitable outcome. It doesn't talk about the triumph of the resurrection without first describing the agony of the crucifixion. War, it seems, thanks to our humanity, is an inevitability of the human condition. Sometimes the wars we fight are violent and bloody, and sometimes they are fought with pen and paper and greed. Yet there is hope, and we see that in the Christian story. We see that the end is actually the very beginning in a kind of weird way. It's a new kingdom, a new life, a resurrection, as we call it. And central to the Christian faith is a truth that Jesus came as God to earth to rescue mankind. Some would argue that we actually don't need rescuing. I don't know how you feel about this, but this is, I get it, right? But the fact that we have remembrance services would cause me to argue otherwise, right? He took upon himself all of our evil, all of our hatred, all of our violence, all of our shame and our guilt and our greed and our selfishness, and he called it sin. And he took our sin and he died a violent and painful death as a result. He paid the penalty that we were due to pay, but he didn't stay in the grave. He rose again from the dead. And in his resurrection is our hope that the death of our servicemen and servicewomen and the grief that follows is not the end. There is eternal life. And this has been the testimony of the church for the last 2,000 years. It is a hope that has been carried in many a war through the prayers and hymns on the battlefields of the land, the sky and the seas. So in that same spirit of hope, we're actually going to do something a little bit unusual this time. We're going to actually break now and have a hymn. It's called When I Survey, and it speaks of the hope that we have in the life and death and resurrection of Christ. It's such a cool hymn. I love this song. And if you can and you are able, sing along. Otherwise, just let this song minister to you, and I'll be back at the other side of it.
When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of glory died, my richest gain. I count but loss and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to His blood. See from His head, His hands, His feet, sorrow and love flow mingled down. Did as such love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, I thank you for the cross, my Lord. I love you for the cross, I love you for the cross, I love you for the cross, my
What a great song. Thanks, John and Anna Grace, for doing that. It's John and Anna Grace who are singing, hence the reason that Matt Crew in his comments calls them Jag. The Jeremy Clarkson Jag. Anyway, bit of an in thing. So here we are. We're talking about Remembrance Sunday, right? Now, it was a few days ago, I got an email from my dad, right? And in this email was this picture here, okay? And this is my great-grandfather. This is a photograph of my great-grandfather, Wilfred Edmondson. And here he is again, a little bit taller. Now, he was killed just before the end of the war in 1918. He was a driver in the Royal Field Artillery, and like many people, he paid the ultimate price for our freedom, right? And his grave is in, if I can pronounce this right, Jubalpur, I think that's right, in India. And my dad actually connected with a super kind chap who managed to get a photograph of his grave. So I got this like a few weeks ago, right? Now, it's amazing to me, I mean, properly amazing to me, that I only really found this out a few weeks ago. Right? So just a few weeks ago. And this is my own family. And there are so many untold stories, aren't there? Even in our own families, in my family, of bravery and sacrifice. And you know what? This got me thinking. It kind of got me thinking about my life and what would I be remembered for? And I think every now and again, it's just good to think about this kind of stuff. What is the legacy that I am building? Now, if I can bring it up here, there we go. Proverbs 13:22 tells us that good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but I want to be a good person, right? So I should plan on leaving an inheritance for my grandkids, according to the Bible. And if there is one thing that we can learn from today, you know, about Remembrance Sunday, it's inheritance is way more than just the amount of money and cash in our estate, isn't it? At the end of our lives, it's kind of just sort of got watered down to that. But Remembrance Sunday is, we don't think about how much money people left, do we? No, we think about their lives and the way they lived and all that kind of stuff. So how will I be remembered? And is it more than just a bit of cash in the bank? What will people think? What will people remember me for when I too no longer walk this earth? The inevitability of it, right? So anyway, these questions got me thinking. And if I were to write them down, what would I put? What did you write? What if Wilf had decent... So Matt's just put in a comment, my great-grandfather had decent hair, because Matt is always going on about how he doesn't like my hair. He thinks it's always messy. But then Matt has no hair, so judge for yourself. Anyway, so what were we talking about? So if I could write a letter, right, that, say, my kids could read after I'm gone, what would it say? What things would I actually want my kids to know? What would I put in the letter? And that kind of got me thinking. So I think to my boys, I'd tell them to be men, God men that love their wives and their kids. Because I think the world needs fathers. It needs husbands more than it needs most things, to be fair. And to my daughter, I'd say don't ever feel like you're not good enough. You don't ever have to compare yourself to anyone. Enjoy being you, right? And find a man that will love you as Christ loved the church. That is the standard, right? Men, listen up. Now, I'd tell them to be good stewards of their bodies, be good stewards of their time, their talents, and their treasure, and always remember a good alliteration, right? I'd tell them to laugh as often as is humanly possible, especially at themselves. I'd tell them to ask for forgiveness often, to make memories, even small one, to always give to God first, and to trust Him even in the storms of life, because He is worth it and He is faithful. I'd tell them to love God, to go for it, to take a risk, to learn to handle failure well, to invest heavily into other people, encourage people every chance you get, because by doing so, you will encourage yourself. I'd tell them to forgive, as the very famous poem says, to fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. One of my favorite lines ever in a poem. Understand what God is telling you to do. And for that season, do it with all you can, right? And I would end this letter with letting them know how proud I am of them and how on the whole, there've been a few moments, but on the whole, I have loved every single minute of being their dad. And I count it a real privilege that I can call myself the dad, right? And I could go on and I could talk about how it's not about the job and the career and do you know what I mean? And all that sort of stuff. But what about you? What would you say? What would you put in a letter to the next generation? Even if you don't have kids, what would you want people to know? And what do you want to be known for? What would be the important things, the lessons in your life that you could distill down into these sort of letters that you could write? And for me, actually, this was an absolutely fascinating thought exercise. I'm not going to lie, it was incredible, right? And I realized something, though, as I started to write these ideas down. And I started to think about the principles that I thought were important for living a meaningful life. And I suddenly became aware of this glaring and obvious question that confronted me, like, head on. Do you know what I mean? And the question was this: am I living the legacy that I want to leave? Will my kids actually read that letter and go, I saw my dad do every one of these things? Will they remember me as someone who lived out what I thought to be important enough to write it down? So, for example, do my kids see me being a God man? Do they see me investing in them? Do they feel like I love them? Do they see me love their mum? Does my daughter see a man love his wife as Christ loved the church? Do they see me being a good steward of the things that God has given me? Do they see me trusting him even in the storms, right? Or is this just a cliched saying that I say? Would they say that I love God and that I know God? Do they see me take a risk? And do they see me handle failure well? Sometimes I just have to say ouch to some of these things, right? As Dave Connolly would say. Because if I talk about investing in others, or if I talk about living with courage, am I investing in others? Am I being courageous myself? Do I fill the unforgiving minutes with 60 seconds worth of distance run? Am I living out God's plan for my life? And is that noticed in any way? Now, if it's what I do and how I live that builds my legacy, and it's what I do that determines how I would be remembered, that's an important thing to remember, isn't it? Because we remember people that took action. This is what Remembrance Sunday is all about, people who took action. And what I say has to match up with what I write. There has to be that level of integrity. And so for me, Remembrance Sunday is like a two-edged sword. I remember people like my great-grandfather. I remember friends and family and members who put their lives on the line, even in the modern conflicts. And in doing so, it reminds me to live a life and to leave my own kind of legacy. I may never, ever end up as a soldier on the battlefront, but it challenges me to face the danger and the adventures of life. Like it says in the poem Flanders Field, to you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold it high. And I have a duty, I have a sense of responsibility to take what they did and to hold that torch high as they've passed it on to me with their failing hands. And I thought, you know what, it would be inappropriate that we observe the 2-minute silence, albeit a little bit later than the rest of the nation. So please use this time as a time of reflection, as a time of prayer, just to remember and to be grateful and to be thankful. And to lead us in this time, I'm actually going to play a video of a chap called Bernard. And I call this video Bernard's Prayer. He's a member, or was a member, of our church. He was one of the brave servicemen lucky enough to make it home from the battlefield, and who has since this recording, it was made 5 years ago, he's gone home to be with the Lord. And I've played this several times at Remembrance Service because Bernard was an absolute legend. I thought he was a great man, and I thought it'd be brilliant if he, through modern technology, could pray for us, and then we'll observe the 2-minute silence, and then I will be back here. So here's Bernard.
So I would just like to say, could I just pray with us all now, just a little prayer. Say thank you, Lord, for those who gave their lives and did not come back. We thank you, our Father, for, and we think at this time of the parents whose sons and daughters never came back. We thank you, Lord, for those who came through and still remember you, and still thank you for your grace and your goodness. And we want to hear your voice and to continue holding this little memorial with a 2-minute silence to remember those who were fallen at the time. Amen. Amen.
Well, I'm just going to pray real quick. Lord, I want to thank you for the brave servicemen and women of our country, of all the countries and nations around the world. I want to thank you for everybody that has given so much that we could be here today. I thank you for people like Bernard, for my great-grandfather, for people that went and have fought in wars and in battles so we could be free. And Lord, as we stand here and as we remember, I pray that we would be challenged and that we would learn how to live ourselves and how to take on that torch. Amen. Amen. Well, I mean, how do you feel about Remembrance Sunday? Such a fascinating day of the year for me. A lot of my family are connected with the services in some way. So really, really powerful stuff. And so I hope you feel inspired. I hope you feel challenged. I hope you feel grateful, actually, for the people that have given so much. What's Matt put here? So Bernard seems like a legend. Hope to meet him in heaven. He was an absolute legend. Such a lovely guy. And great to see him still on screen. Such is the power of technology. We can do that. So just in case you kind of joined us halfway through and think, what is going on here? We are an online church because, you know, in the realm of COVID, online church seems to make a lot of sense. And so we do online church. We say that Frontline City, which is soon to be called Crowd Church, is getting renamed, is a church for those that don't see the point of church. You kind of go, well, is church relevant for me? Does this even make sense? Well, that's what we're trying to be. We're an online church for those that don't see the point of church, but who do want to find answers on how to live a meaningful life. That's what we're here to do. And as Sharon said right at the start, we just want to inspire people about Jesus. So it's great that so many of you joined us during the Remembrance service. You are more than welcome to join it at any point in the comments. Just say, how is it? Hi, whatever language works for you. Just connect with us. Be great to know that you're here, to know that you're watching what's going on. And like I said, we stream at 4 p.m. every Sunday. So do feel free to come back and join us. And one of the things, today has been a little bit unusual because it's been Remembrance Day. One of the things that we do typically do every week is we have something called catch up. Now, I'll let Josh actually explain to you what catch up is. So here's Josh, and I'll be back when he's finished.
Hello and welcome to this week's Sunday Catch Up. Now, for those of you who don't know me, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Josh Edmondson. I am a technically second year student at the University of St Andrews studying theoretical physics. If you've never watched this part of the stream before, let me fill you in on what's going to happen. Catch Up is part of the service where we get to look at videos sent in from members of the community just to see what we've been getting up to. So we have an opportunity to, well, catch up with each other. Over the next couple of minutes, we're just going to share what people have been doing throughout the week. Now, a few very special things have happened this week. One, of course, there was the whole presidential election. There was also Bonfire Night on the 5th of November. Today is Remembrance Sunday. And on Wednesday, it was Matt Crew's birthday. Happy birthday, Matt. I hope you had a fantastic time. I saw the videos that you sent in, and one of them is you singing Happy Birthday. I thought I would try and join in. Now, if I butcher this, please do forgive me. You know, this way, it was like I was there in spirit. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Matthew. Happy birthday to you.
3 cheers for Matt Crew. Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Happy birthday, Matt Crew.
Happy birthday, Matt Crew, indeed. Fantastic. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful time. Yeah, this week has actually been quite busy. I've actually done something. I know, it's shocking. If you've watched this before, you might remember I mentioned I had a lab experiment that I did remotely. Was it last week? Oh, it might have been last week, actually. Everything's kind of rolling into one by this point. Well, this week I had my very first in-person lab session. It was quite a momentous occasion. Granted, only like 2 of us out of the class of 40 actually turned up to the lab session. This is what I did. We're just gonna switch over real quick. Then we just hit this button. Look at that. We have a flashing light. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I need to finish my degree. I think I've reached my peak right here. But anyway, that's enough from me. Let's get on to the catch-up videos.
You like your boots? You're the birthday girl. You're the birthday girl.
Great, thank you for sending those in. Eden, I love your enthusiasm for those boots. Zoe, love how you're making another sign. And I love the fact that you were woodworking in unicorn slippers. That's all from me. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic week and I will catch you next time.
Very good. Love the catch-up video. Thanks very much for sending in your videos so we can catch up. So like Josh said, we just like to see what you guys are up to, because obviously we're not meeting in a building. We're now an online church. So you sending in videos enable us to see all the different things that you're up to. Yeah, Sharon's just put here in the comments, I enjoyed the birthday duet. I agree. I thought the duet was something quite extraordinary. I noticed you had to drop your voice a little bit though, Josh, to sing Happy Birthday. But Happy Birthday, Matt. It's a shame you had to celebrate it, you know, in isolation. But we were definitely with you in spirit. So 3 cheers for Matt indeed. I hope it was a good one. Did you see Zoe's slippers that she was woodworking in? Yes. That was not made up. That was not camera trickery. That was genuine, real life. Zoe was doing, making a carving in wood for a Narnia sign for her school in unicorn slippers. That is how she rolls. Oh, yes. And Josh, I love that you got a flashing light. Oh, it's good to see that, you know, the money is being well spent for your university education. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what to say about that. And I loved Eden's boots. I think her mum was more excited about those boots than Eden was. Just seemed that way to me, AG, that you were a little bit more excited. So if you are part of the Frontline City / crowd church community, and you, or even if you're not, if you're just joining us, that's fine. Just send in to that number which you see on this part of your screen here some videos, just how you're getting on, just anything that enables us to create this catch-up video in the week. It's just a bit of fun at the end of the service to see what the community is up to. Also, using that number, that WhatsApp number, you can reach out to us. So if this is your first time with us, or if this is like your 100th time with us, which would be amazing considering we have not done 100 online services yet. But anyway, however it works, and you would like us to pray for you for anything, if there's any prayer requests that you have, and you don't actually have to be a Christian to put in prayer requests. You just have to go, okay, I'll take a chance. So tell us anything that we can pray for, and we will happily pray for you, because, you know, God is in the business of hearing our prayers. Might not always get the answers that we want, as we talked about a few weeks ago, but, you know, we should definitely pray. So if you would like anything, connect with us through that WhatsApp number to pray for, or if you'd just like to say hello, connect with us, ask us any questions that you don't want to put in the public Facebook comments. Again, WhatsApp us, because it is all private and it is all usually confidential. The only time we don't make it confidential is when Matt Crew normally sends something into that number that just makes me laugh, or legally I can't, but there's another story. Okay, so I think that is everything for this week. As I said, we live stream every Sunday, 4 p.m. And we would love it if you would come join us. We're here on Facebook Live. We are going to start streaming very, very soon on YouTube, which I'm super, super excited about. As I'm trying to get my head around the technology to do that, but that's okay. We'll get in there. Do come and join us. And you know what? We've got next week, John Harding is sort of picking up in our Mark series. So we're working our way through Mark's Gospel, and John Harding is next week. The week after is actually also going to be Jack Mariner. So we've got some awesome speakers coming up as we're going to get into this. Jack actually and I talked yesterday, the day before, about what he's going to be talking about. Oh, he's getting into politics, big style. Religion and politics, the two things that you should never talk about. All that is coming up. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that. If you want to check out any of the back live streams that we've done, just head on over to YouTube, or you can connect with us through the website Frontline City. You can see it underneath my name Oh, that's the right side. It's always weird because it's always back to front on the camera. But you can just go to that website and come up, and all the previous messages will come up, and you can check those out to your heart's content. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining in. What I'm going to do now, the way I'm going to end this Remembrance Day service, actually, is I'm going to play the last post. And then we're going to play the Rouge. And so, no, not the Rouge, what's it called? The Rouse, sorry, the Rouge. I don't know why I think. Anyway, the Rouse. So we're going to play that. Feel free to stay connected. This broadcast will probably run another 5 or 6 minutes or so. But this is it from me for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being connected with us. God bless you. Have a fantastic week wherever you are. And thanks for all your comments. Thanks for connecting. And we'll see you again very soon.